Hello, and welcome to the first ever episode of Pimple Popper Chart Toppers, the only podcast about popular acne-related songs. Bryan, would you like to introduce yourself?
I definitely would. Thank you. I am Bryan Bailey, and I have, mostly clear skin, but I used to deal with pimples pretty bad in my teenage years, just like I think most other people. I have a PhD in musicology, so I gotta assume that that's the real reason I'm here.
Yeah, that's great. And I should introduce myself, shouldn't I? I'm Keith Ward. I'm a dermatologist and a big-time music listener. So you can see how this podcast idea came about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess let's introduce the song of the week.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. This week we're analyzing the Foo Fighters song Breakout from their album There Is Nothing Left to Lose. And, I guess here's where our Patreon listeners will get a little sample of the song, but we have to cut that out on YouTube because of copyright. So let's get right into it. What do you think of the song?
I mean, I think just from a music standpoint, it's an incredible song, you know. We've been researching it for a couple of weeks now, and I just can't get it out of my head.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like in the shower, I'm just
absolutely.
singing,
Every day.
It's easy.
I think
you make me break out. Like that line.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just so great.
It's an incredibly catchy chorus, I think, really well written. Obviously, as we're going to talk about later, I think there's a lot of metaphor in the text that
the lyrics are great.
I at least hope is worthy of discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, I think musically, you know, everyone in that band is super talented musician.
Oh, and who are the Foo Fighters in this song?
Oh, yeah, I guess that is important to establish. I mean, I'm sure most people know Dave Grohl. He's the lead singer, vocalist, and lead guitarist. There's Nate Mendel, who's on bass, and then Taylor Hawkins on drums, who unfortunately died in 2022.
That was
big
unfortunate.
Loss.
He's a great drummer.
Absolutely.
And then
that's great on this song.
Of course, Adam Casper, the producer, and this is a little before the time that Chris Shiflett joined the band, but he is featured in the music video, which is interesting. This was a pretty popular song. It reached number 15 on Canada Rock and Alternative, number 11 on U.S. Mainstream Rock, number 8 on U.S. Alternative Airplay, and then crucially, number 2 on UK Rock and Metal, right behind Green Day's Minority.
Unfortunately, not a pimple-related song.
Yeah, like most songs.
Yeah.
But this was still a pretty big breakthrough.
It's especially impressive considering it's the 4th single on this album.
Out of 5.
Out of 5. So, I mean, it had a lot of competition not only in the music world, but on this album alone. So it's pretty impressive that it's able to reach these heights.
Yeah, if you check on Spotify, it's got the time of recording, it's got 87 million plays, which is the second highest on the album, although that is quite a bit behind Learn to Fly, their real big hit off this album.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this still shows that pimple-related music was... making a real...
it's something to take seriously, and that's what we're hoping to prove here today.
Exactly. In about the Y2K era.
Yeah, I guess it's important to also just talk about the album real quick. That's a good segue. This is an album from November of 1999. As you said, it's called There Is Nothing Left to Lose. Their 3rd album. But pivotally got them their first Grammy win in 2001, because Grammys kind of have that weird window of despite being a 1999 album, it won in 2001.
Yeah.
It marked their pivotal move from Capitol Records to RCA, which was a pretty big decision for the band.
And also, just personally, Dave Grohl's and the rest of the band's move back to Virginia, where they're from, away from LA, where Grohl, Mendel, and Hawkins were living together and making everything from scratch on their own.
I would have loved to see what the vibe was like in that room when they were recording Breakout, though.
Absolutely. I actually, I think there's a quote about that.
Oh, yeah?
That,
just look through our notes real quick.
There's if you look online, there's a thing where Dave Grohl said that while we were recording Breakout, the band had to tell me to tone down because the neighbors were giving dirty looks and threatening to complain that someone was getting murdered. So I nailed it one time. My throat was gone after that, man. Yeah, so... I mean, if you've heard the song, which I imagine our listeners have, it's one of the biggest forefront songs in the Pimple song world. It's a very intense song. It's very loud.
You can definitely tell how it caused that.
Yeah, I mean the chorus is just so powerful. Apparently offensive to Dave Grohl's neighbors. Some of our listeners might be a little confused if you don't think this song is about pimples, because you might think it's a different song. This is the Foo Fighters song. It is crucially not the song by British pop group Swing Out Sister,
which was
an older song, also a big hit, defining for them. That song is not related to Pimples, which is why we're not covering it on this. And it's also the title track on Miley Cyrus's sophomore album, which is also not about pimples.
Yeah, unfortunately, neither of them have yet made a song about the pimple.
Yeah, I think both of those songs are about, I don't know, breaking out of unjust circumstances or something similar to that, and not the more accepted definition of breaking out in terms of acne on your face.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
I would love to see Miley Cyrus.
Oh, absolutely!
Give us
I'm sure she would kill that. I mean, you know, she must have had that experience in her life. It was also, if you have heard of this song, you might know it from the hit video game Lego Rock Band. Came out in 2009. This was featured in one of the prominently in that game as one of the boss levels. It was pretty difficult song on drums, medium or so difficulty on the other parts. So if any viewer shows us an expert FC on drums in Lego Rock Band on this song, what should we give him? I don't know. We'll give him a little shout out on the next episode. Yeah. I think that'd be really impressive. That'd be awesome.
Because I was never able to do it.
Yeah, I mean that was just so hard.
Can I say it always bothered me that those actors on the Titanic in the final level, none of them have acne, even though you're playing Breakout.
Yeah.
They're all clear skinned.
Yeah, I mean that's just like classic.
I mean, I think it just kind of goes back to why we're having to make this podcast. It's like just even when we're here, we're not fully respected. Yeah. So I think it's important to acknowledge these things. Yeah, I guess just to continue on the themes of the cultural influence of the song. Obviously, it was a very influential song, but it had a very prominent role in the movie Me, Myself, and Irene.
Absolutely.
The Jim Carrey movie. Are you familiar?
Yeah, I mean that's one of my favorites.
I think it's incredible. It's very underrated. I think it's one of his best performances. Super great movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Breakout plays in, admittedly, a pretty minor scene towards the middle where Hank stares down a child with big glasses. I'm kind of, I guess I don't fully understand why Me, Myself, and Irene came to fully represent Breakout. There are obviously a lot more songs in Me, Myself, and Irene, but I think it just shows that despite not being most prominently featured, it had the viewers' hearts. Yeah,
and a lot of Me, Myself, and Irene is the soundtrack is Steely Dan covers and such. And I don't think any of those have to do with Pimples.
Unfortunately, I doubt it, because it's worth noting the movie doesn't have much to do with Pimples either.
Yeah, well, I mean, not explicitly, but I think implicitly there's a lot to
I agree. Yeah,
a lot to talk about with Pimples.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of the same themes of being insecure about your face, your appearance. Plastic surgery is obviously a big thing in Me, Myself, and Irene. Yeah, I think that obviously comes from an insecurity with your face, which I think most acne havers.
In this case, his chin. I mean that was where I got most of my acne. What about you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, mine was mostly forehead, kind of the wax.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also of course the music video. I mean that has Me, Myself, and Irene all over it.
All over it. Yeah.
It's really they're deeply connected. It includes a lot of, unfortunately not Jim Carrey, but many of the actors who are in the movie are in it. Traylor Howard, his first wife, is in there. Tony Cox, the guy who, of course, I mean, spoilers, but it's in the first 5 minutes of the movie. The guy who steals her. And then also his kids, played by Anthony Anderson and Gerard Mixon. Yeah, they're all in the movie, in the music video.
Can I say, I think it's really refreshing to see, these Hollywood actors show up for, a pimple-related song. I haven't seen many movies about acne, and I haven't heard many songs about acne as we're trying to be here. So I think it's beautiful that they showed up to, fully support the cause. It's
great that, I mean, unfortunately, I reached out to them. I couldn't get Tony Cox for this episode, but...
I mean, I can't blame him,
Yeah. The music video, one could even say it seems like an ad for the film at times. It features Dave Grohl going out on a drive-in theater date with Traylor Howard, and then antics ensue. Tony Cox comes in, rustles some feathers. It's and then of course at the drive-in they're watching Me, Myself, and Irene.
And even when they're not watching it, there's posters all over, and you're seeing the movie continuously.
Yeah. And the song is also, I mean, it's obviously one of the Foo Fighters' biggest hits, and so it's a big deal to them and, of course, the fans of their work. It was played live at Hyde Park and Wembley Stadium when they got those gigs and on their respective DVDs. Often live, Dave Grohl adds like a lot of extra flourish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. To at the beginning when he says, "One of these days I'll break you down." Instead of just going you down, he adds, he breaks. One of these days I'll break your, and then he just says like a whole bunch of lines like as fast as he can. Usually swears a whole bunch, and
That's
then
Dave Grohl for you.
And then he says ass down.
I think where I saw it live first would have been on the Late Late Show in the 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
The acoustic version of that song.
That's another important thing. The Late Late Show in May of 2000, which would have been, was that a little bit before the single released, I think. They did an acoustic version, which was really interesting, and so that just adds like another kind of element. Like this song, like it transcends barriers. It's not just limited to like the electric, post grunge sound.
And I really respect the Foo Fighters. It's not the biggest hit off this album, and they've had bigger hits since then.
Yeah.
But they've continued to just embrace the song. They play it all the time. I think that's really beautiful.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think we're about ready to start getting to the lyrical insights of the song. Start breaking down line by line.
Absolutely. That's important.
I'm sure that's the
It's
part most
the meat and potatoes of this podcast.
I'm sure that's what most listeners are here for. I think it's worth noting, just the origins of the song. He said,
Dave Grohl. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Dave Grohl said, "Breakout started almost as a joke, just a play on the word and taking the piss out of your typical tortured romance love story. It's supposed to seem kind of ridiculous, but I just can't imagine anyone wanting to break off a relationship just because they have acne, And I think, you see a lot of that reflected in the music video as well.
Yeah. It kind of plays into the inherent comedy,
Absolutely.
Which, of course, like, it's featured in Me, Myself, and Irene, that's a comedy. This is really a lighthearted song.
But what I love is that, like, despite, like, it's a silly situation, it's also the reality for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, like, acne is still something people struggle with, and, like, despite this not being something that you really see play out, like, a lot of people that have acne feel like this is something that would happen to them.
Absolutely.
They think people are going to leave them. They think people won't like them because they have acne.
Yeah.
And so I like this song, and hopefully this podcast are kind of dispelling that myth.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think...
I guess, yeah, enough foreplay. Let's get into the song.
All right, yeah. So, I mean, I think just to start, obviously, it's repeated throughout the entire song. It's the title.
Yeah.
Breakout.
Yeah.
They say that, he says it in the chorus, the break, and the outro. I mean, there's many choruses. Like, this is repeated as a mantra throughout the song. You make me break out.
Yeah, and I think Breakout is just an incredible title for a song, especially about these themes.
Oh, absolutely.
It's kind of the breakout of the face, obviously, that we've been talking about, the acne, but also like kind of a metaphor for the anger that he feels like, he wants to break out, like just lash out.
Yeah.
So I think it's serving both those purposes. It's very clever.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's stressful.
Yeah.
And as we all know, like, acne is often more common for teenagers, those going through puberty, and there's just like a lot of outside stressors during that time too.
Absolutely.
For plenty of people.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty powerful to be really channeling all that stressful energy into like kind of an anthem.
Yeah, and there's definitely a pretty close relationship between like pimples and stress. Pimples cause stress. And like you said, like it's kind of a time in your life when you're more stressed out.
Exactly.
So I think him tying those things together, I think it was super smart, and yeah.
Yeah. So the song starts off, of course, with the iconic line, and it's such a powerful opening with the like wavy guitar.
Absolutely.
You make me dizzy running circles in my head. And I like that line a lot.
Absolutely.
But, just because, like the mention of dizziness, it really kind of like adds to all the pimple mentioning.
Absolutely.
Because, dizziness is kind of like, it's a very similar, like, minor affliction. And it also often comes with stress. When you're really stressed out, when you're angry, it can be hard to really focus very much, and pimples, they go along with that. Like, these really go hand in hand. He gets the full kind of circle.
Yeah, and I think kind of in that quote that you established earlier, Keith, you make me dizzy running circles in my head, it quickly establishes that, like, this is a love story, but it's not going to be your typical love story. The way you see, like, there's still something, like, a little off about it. Clearly a little things aren't exactly as they seem, although it is still the love story that, like, it's still a sweet message.
Yeah. But it's very troubled.
Absolutely. And then following that into, well, look who's going crazy now. Going crazy is another theme you're going to see a lot over the course of the song. Him feeling insane.
Absolutely.
Him going insane, eventually leading to the big lash out. But pimples can be associated with, craziness, ugliness, nerdiness. Like those are all kind of in the same sphere, and I think the way they're all tied into Pimples, it feels very closely related.
Yeah, he really gets like the whole oeuvre almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I think the next line, it's just kind of cheeky, honestly.
I agree.
We're face to face, my friend. I mean, that's just fun.
If you didn't know if you didn't know it was about pimples before, like I feel like by now you kind of do.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, absolutely.
To bring in the face imagery, yeah.
Yeah, and it's also like it's just very very powerful. He's really staring down, all these like imperfections and acne and all these afflictions. He's staring down all these issues that people face like very directly. It's he's showing he's not like ashamed.
Yeah, I feel like I could write whole essays about this line because not only is it him standing face to face with his own acne, but also him not wanting to be face with other people. Like him feeling the vulnerability of being face to face with them because of his acne. Like I think, like we're gonna say a lot, like the dual meanings. Yeah. They're all over.
I think
song.
this line honestly it kind of ties a lot of the song together, and it really builds into the next part of the song
where you get to the bridge. Yeah.
Well, actually, the next part is the chorus, but of course, I mean that's the titular line that we all know. But I mean, I also think it's worthwhile to just get into the like structure of the song next,
because the song does not have a very typical structure.
Yeah, I mean, we have the first verse, which is it feels really like a build up.
Yeah. That's what we just went through.
Yeah, and then of course the chorus everyone knows. I mean, you can't unknow. It's so powerful.
It's in pop culture just forever.
Absolutely. And then one of the most interesting things that the song does is it has the bridge directly after the first chorus. Like there's no
very unusual.
Yeah, a lot of the time, they artists really try to like savor that bridge and like wait till the end, but like they know that they don't have to.
Absolutely. Because you don't have to like rely on any piece of the song because like it's all equally just as strong.
And then that bridge is it's just great. I love it. And then of course there's a second verse which mimics the first one.
Yeah.
And then another chorus, and then it's not lyrically very different, but then there's a break, which is a funny title for this song. But yeah, there's a break, which is like the most powerful part of the song, where he's just screaming, and then we get another chorus, and then an outro, which is basically more of the chorus.
So there's a lot of different pieces of this song.
Yeah,
a pretty standard pop song would go verse, chorus, bridge, chorus.
Absolutely.
So I think for this one to kind of play with that, I mean, it just kind of shows like how transcendental this piece is.
Yeah, and like it shows like Grohl's creativity, with and one of all the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of is what sets them apart. Is they're comfortable like outside of the comfort zone, pushing boundaries like
absolutely.
that. Whether that's bringing pimple issues to the surface, or whether that's no pun intended with that surface thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, if I know you, and anyway, so of course, I mean, there's not much to analyze in the chorus. We've already kind of been over that, but but yeah, the next part of the song, as you said, is the bridge. If you want to get to it.
So yeah, the bridge will start with the line, "You can see this on my face. It's all for you." See this on my face, of course, is referring to acne. Like we said, if you didn't know it was about acne before, you're definitely going to now. All this facial imagery. And we have to assume that it's all for you is like referring to the stress that he feels towards this person.
Yeah, and I think that's just really, it's great. It's this song is abrasive. Like it's not one that kind of coddles you.
No.
It's one that really is bold and radical and pushes these kinds of ideas to the forefront. And so I think it's great that it's so explicit with the messaging.
Yeah, and it kind of is constantly changing, like, its relationship with how he even feels about the acne. Like, it's all for you. Like, there's some questions there of, like, is that a good thing that's all for you? Like, is it something that he's embracing? Is it something he's ashamed of? He kind of has, like, this kind of three-dimensional relationship with it.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's both a source of shame and pride.
Absolutely.
But I think as you go through the whole experience of listening to the song and really feeling the lyrics, I think you'll kind of come to the conclusion that it's really, the acne is just kind of a part of him. And it's something that's not necessarily a positive or negative thing, and that's like what the character he's playing kind of like.
Absolutely, yeah. The song as a whole can kind of seen as him coming to terms with that, embracing that part of him. And I think that's beautiful. And we're there just by the first bridge, and we still have so much song left.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess it's important to note, like, this is a pretty normal length song despite all the different parts. It's only 3 minutes and 22 seconds.
Yo, yeah.
So, I mean, fitting all this, like, very dense prose into a very regular length song, it's very impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, the next line you'll get is, the more and more I take, I break right through. So this can be referring to a lot of things. I really like this.
Yeah.
The more I take, that can be referring.
It kind of balances out the how bold and explicit the rest of the song is.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of gives you something to really chew on, really marinate on, and like think about. This line has so many different directions it can be taken.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the more I take, that could be referring to like acne medication. That could be referring to just like the more I take is in like the more anger I put up with.
The more I take in the relationship.
Absolutely. Break right through. I mean, we're two pimple heads, so I have to assume that's about acne.
Yeah.
But I mean, that could also be seen as, again, lashing out, or kind of the anger coming to the surface of him.
Yeah. This anger is like it's depicted as acne.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The acne becomes like a capsule for
it's definitely some symbolism
for his emotions.
anger.
Yeah. And then the next thing he brings is the line is and therapy still scares me. Put me on my back again. And this line is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you know, therapy, of course, is it's mental counseling, but it can also be there's therapy for acne as a type of treatment, and so that's really impressive that he like wraps it in there.
Yeah, and I think it's just really impressive the way he's constantly towing the line between like actual talking about acne and like talking about his anger. Because you never want to go too far in one direction, because then the song loses that nuance that makes us love it so much and make us want to talk about it. So therapy, that could be seen as like anger management for that anger we're talking about. But it could also be talking about like the self-esteem issues he's facing from his acne.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of different ways you can interpret that therapy, what he's going to therapy for. It's just very, very smart songwriting.
I think personally, I don't know about you, but I was coming face to face and like actually going out and trying to like fix your problems like acne. I mean that's scary.
It's hard,
and it definitely was for me. Like I never wanted to be like, oh, I'm gonna go get those patches or whatever.
Yeah.
So like it's not necessarily easy, and I think that's kind of what Grohl is.
Absolutely. There's
trying to
definitely
get through
there's
here.
a stigma around it.
Absolutely.
Like it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's bad to have acne, but there's also a stigma around trying to fix it. There's just as much a stigma around acne patches as there is acne itself.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see like what he means when he says it scares him. But then, like he's saying, if you don't go to therapy though, nothing's gonna get better.
Yeah. I also like the inclusion of again at the end of that line.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really cyclical.
Absolutely.
This kind of
been
stuff.
a lifelong problem.
Yeah. There's no way where it's just something that you get over so easily. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, the next lines we have are in verse 2, which is followed directly after the bridge. There is no chorus in between these,
No.
Despite how many choral. Is that what you say?
I think choral. Yeah.
Choral,
That
sure.
sounds right.
Elements there are in this song. And this is where we get some of the more interesting imagery, and I really like this.
Yeah, you can definitely see like why they wanted to make this music video. There's a lot of imagery in the song.
Yeah.
It's kind of painting a picture.
He says, I may be dizzy, a little frayed around the ends, which is changing the line from the first line, which was, what was it? What was the first line?
You got me dizzy, running circles around my head.
Yeah, and so then this one, I may be crazy, never mind. A little frayed around the ends, which is, I mean, it's coming back with the crazy line. Obviously that has to do with
For sure.
with all sorts of stigmatized groups which often are associated with acne. And then frayed around the ends I like especially.
For sure.
Because I mean often if you popping, the technical term is expression. When you you pop your pimple, which is the kind of rough go-to solution a lot of people find that is easier. It's kind of feels easier, but it's of course not as healthy. It can it's advised against by professionals because can result in infection and stuff.
I'm sure you've seen a ton of that. But
Absolutely.
frayed around the ends.
It's a problem.
I believe it. Yeah, and I mean it's something we're all guilty of, but I can definitely see where he's coming from with that. Frayed around the ends also could be referring to just the way he doesn't really feel like a normal person. He kind of feels like an outsider. He feels a little more crazy, not as smooth, not as perfect as everyone else is.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's another thing with, like, the stigma of acne is you kind of feel like you're, like, the only one that's going through it or the only one that's noticeable. But, like, and again, that's why it's important to bring this song to light. But, yeah, he's just kind of removing that stigma and kind of expressing, like, the way that he doesn't feel like a person.
Yeah. And the next line we get more really, like, juicy imagery and metaphors and stuff. One of these days I'll phase you out. And I phase you out is just, I mean, it's perfect, right?
It's exactly the way to describe it, yeah.
Because, of course, like, acne often comes in phases. You know,
Sure.
you'll go a few months with, or a few weeks with, you know, all you're breaking out all the time, and then you know, a few months and then nothing, and then you know, it's back in, and then, but also, like, it often affects those in teenagehood. And I mean, it's a classic line at this point, like, it's not a phase.
Yeah.
But which is, you know, associated with teenagers. Acne is associated with teenagers. We've got so many, like, levels going on here.
Absolutely. Yeah. The phase, it could be referring to anything, and, you know, I can't speak for you, but I know, like, whenever I get acne, like, it's never just one. It's always, like, coming in patches. It's staying for a prolonged period of time. So, yeah, I just love him speaking to, like, the phase, the cyclical nature of acne like that.
Yeah. I mean, that of course, is caused by hormone fluctuation, all sorts of things like that. Like, it's, which, of course, is accentuated in puberty.
But also just, just in general, to talk about, like, the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, you know, it might not be like this forever. Like, one day I'll be done with this, you know. One day we'll get through this. Yeah. You know, there's not a need to lose hope, you know.
And then we get a little repetition in the next line with "Burn It in the Blast Off," which is repeated. I mean, this is just more great imagery. It's red, burn in the blast.
It's uncomfortable. Like, it's grotesque. Yeah. It's exactly the imagery that you need. Yeah. You know, to show how vile your hatred is for.
Exactly.
Like the vitriol you have for your acne. It's like I'd rather burn my face than have to deal with this. It's definitely powerful. Yeah,
I mean, and, like, acne is it hurts like that. I mean, that's the main.
It's true.
The main thing. It might look ugly, and that's like often what is focused on. But I mean, like, it's not comfortable. Yeah. And then, of course, like, also, like, burn it in the blast off kind of implies, like, violence. Again, kind of circles back to expression, the way you're not supposed to get rid of your pimples. They can cause, you know, scarring and such. And, you know, it's kind of self-destructive, which ties into, like, the character that Grohl is portraying in this.
For sure. You know, and then he ends verse 2. We'll just wrap it up with try to get out, which, you know, again, is just kind of tying back to these themes of, you know, wanting to be done with this, just feeling like all hope is lost. Like, I would do anything to be through this. But he just doesn't feel like he can get out. He feels trapped in his acne. He feels trapped in this anger.
Absolutely. I feel like that also kind of, it seems almost like a, not a parody. I don't know what is almost it's got to be a better word there, but, like, it's related to Breakout, Get Out, like that. Yeah. The way he kind of, like, plays with the phrasing. Yeah. And when it's, you know, referencing the previous verse with better get out, this is try to get out. Yeah. So he's progressing from knowing that he has to, you know, do something to actually making this attempt to get out of, you know, this bad relationship, this phase of his life. Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, in probably less than 2 minutes of the song, he's made this, like, whole, like, the way he views his acne is almost entirely different now. You know, he's, like, wanting to take action. He's wanting to be through it instead of feeling like all hope is lost.
Yeah. And so then of course we get the chorus again. It's, you know, it's very powerful. We know, we've been over this. Yeah. A lot of repetition, which, I mean, of course, people, like, you never just get one. No, like, it. So, like, I feel like that kind of, like, metatextually comes into the
I mean, to lose that repetition would be to suggest that you're not constantly feeling these things. Like, every time you get one, you're feeling the same hate that you feel the first time you get it. You know, like,
absolutely.
It's not a feeling that goes away with time, or you really get used to.
Yeah, and then the break, which is, I mean, like, that's not something that's really, it's not really important, like, the lyrics here. It's just the feeling. He's really screaming these, like, this is, it's the hardest part of the song.
Absolutely. That's kind of when you get to that screaming, throw your voice out part that he was talking about in that quote earlier. You know, it starts getting very aggressive. You know, he's just yelling, breakout, breakout, breakout.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, in the quote, it said, like, his neighbors were mad. Yeah. Like, I mean, not everyone is going to be okay with this kind of stuff. Like, it's kind of breaking boundaries in that way. And then we have another chorus, and then a little outro, which just has, you know, a little repeat of some of the stuff. Yeah, I mean, these lyrics are powerful. This is powerful stuff. This is really credible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we really dwelled on it, but just, like, It's a really simple line, but sometimes, it's just one of those cases, like, the most simple thing is the most effective, but in the chorus, just, I don't want to look like that. Like, sometimes you can just kind of strip away all that flowery imagery and just kind of get to, like, the core of it. You're like, I just don't like the way this makes me look. Like,
Yeah.
There's something so emotional about that to me. And he probably says that a dozen times throughout the song. Like,
yeah.
it feels like such a pure feeling. Yeah, it's really powerful.
And it should also be noted that oftentimes the break, funny how oftentimes the word break comes up here, but when played live, the break, they add like an extra breakdown to like, let people like feel the song a lot more, chime it, like, make it so it's a normal length song. You said it was 3 minutes and 20 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, this really helps. It really helps.
Yeah, there's just a lot of themes of different things breaking. You obviously you have the breakout, which is the song, and then breakdown, as you're saying, but then also, like, he's worried about a break up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you're kind of getting a breakthrough. I don't know if that's a stretch, but, like...
I see it.
It just feels like there's a lot of different, like, break imagery, like, the way break is being interpreted. I think it's very clever.
Yeah. And so then, of course, music is, it's audio. But, of course, you can't have music without the artwork that goes along with it. And I think that's just as crucial. The cover for the single is acne treatment pills. I mean, it's in the style of the full thing. It's just like a blank background with just acne treatment pills, which kind of shows you, like, it kind of goes back to how blunt the song is.
Like, he does not want to risk the song being misinterpreted. It's a really important message to him. You can tell. And I really love him giving this direct message because, a lot of times you're seeing the artwork before you even listen to the song.
Absolutely.
So you're going into the song immediately knowing what it's about, and that lets the beginning lines hit you even harder.
Absolutely.
And it is worth noting that is different than the album cover itself, which is the back of Dave Grohl's neck with the band's initials. And I think the neck is an interesting thing to talk about when it comes to acne, because obviously, like, acne and the back of the neck acne, like, are things that a lot of people experience. So there's potentially some symbolism there. Obviously the whole album's not about acne, unfortunately.
Yeah, it does have to represent the album as a whole.
Yeah.
But I think this cover kind of does focus more on this track more. I think this track kind of seems like kind of, even if it's not the lead single, it is kind of maybe the most important song, just based on that artwork. Like, that doesn't really have to do with flying, but it does have a lot to do with acne, with these kind of personal topics.
I guess it's also worth noting that, like, this song is the second song in the album. Like, on this, like, he's pretty quickly he's wanting you to hear this song. So, like, I think at the very least it's kind of setting the scene for the rest of the album. So,
and that's actually an interesting point there. It's the second song on the album, but it's also the second song on the Me, Myself, and Irene soundtrack.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is worth noting.
And it's also, number 2 on the UK Rock and Metal, and it's also
3 minutes and 22 seconds.
Yeah, 3 minutes and 22 seconds. There's a lot of it's always and kind of like playing second fiddle. It's the second most popular song on the album.
That's right.
And I think that represents, like, even if this is like probably one of the foremost acne songs, it does still have to kind of play in the background, and that's like acne is never, like, taken seriously as, like, the main thing that the main issues of our day. So I think it's great that we can we can have something this big, but it is also important to note that, like, it's never fully emphasized. It's always a little bit sidelined.
It's disappointing that, like, obviously, like, we've seen, like, through all the streams of the song that, like, people are willing to show up for an acne-related song.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I just wish that, like, it could get pushed even harder. Like, I love the Foo Fighters for making this a single, giving it a music video, but it was also, the 4th single out of 5. So, like, it would have been great if, other artists or, this could be leaned into even harder, so we could eventually get a number 1 title for an acne-related song. I think that's got to be the dream.
And in our future weeks of this podcast, we might actually get to that. If you just tune in next week,
don't get mistaken. There are other acne songs out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a vast genre.
Yeah.
And just before we get into the rest of the episode, let's just take a quick moment to thank our sponsor, Hey Crispy.
This episode of Pimple Popper Chart Toppers is brought to you by Hey Crispy. Meal boxes right to your door whenever you want them. In recent years, Keith, I've been trying to eat healthier and eat at home more. And I think the best way to do this is through Hey Crispy.
Really?
They send high-quality items right to your door for you to eat healthier, be healthier, spend less money eating out. I know that's something I'm guilty of.
But will they give me acne? Do they have things that give you acne, like chocolate or greasy foods?
They do not. In fact, they all have organic materials. It's been wonders for my skin. All of our listeners could absolutely benefit from Hey Crispy, and we have something special just for you. If you use coupon code PIMPLES at checkout, you get 5% off your first order.
That is coupon code PIMPLES at checkout, PIMPLES, for 5% off your first order of Hey Crispy. Make sure to check out Hey Crispy with the link in the description. And back to the episode.
Well, how about we get to the Patreon caller part of the episode? Each week we select a random member of the $10+ a month tier on our Patreon, and we include their special insight.
That's right. And today our caller is Groovy Fork Oh, that's probably Groovy Forks. I like that. How are you doing, Groovy?
Great. Oh, and can I just say that I'm a longtime fan, first-time caller.
That's great, Groovy. Today we're talking about the song Breakout by the Foo Fighters. Do you have any special insights on that?
You said Breakout? I don't think I know that one.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Groovy.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
And I think that's about it for today. Make sure to use code PIMPLES at checkout on your first order of Hey Crispy. That's PIMPLES.
And tune in next week for another episode of Pimple Popping Goodness. We'll see you then.
See you guys.